Okay, Desi Doyen, I know Donald Trump is doing a fantastic job down in Puerto Rico. He's told me so himself over and over again. But what's the real story now more than a week after Hurricane Maria?
Well, unfortunately, Puerto Ricans are still waiting for aid to reach them. A week, as you said, after Hurricane Maria devastated the U.S. island territory. The logistical difficulty of distributing emergency aid cannot be overstated when so much of Puerto Rico's roads, bridges, ports, and communications were completely destroyed. San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz on MSNBC echoed other Puerto Rican officials who expressed gratitude for federal aid, but said that the scale of the disaster is so mind-bogglingly enormous that much more is needed.
We need diesel, we need gas, we need running water, we need some sort of way for people to find their way around, and we need our hospitals not to become death traps. So this is a big SOS for anybody out there.
The Defense Department says that only 44% of the island's residents have access to potable drinking water. That's 1.5 million people, and that out of 69 hospitals, only 11 have fuel for electricity. The lack of fuel has already caused the deaths of at least 2 patients in an intensive care unit. Senior citizens are trapped in high-rise buildings in the oppressive heat without food, water, or medicine. President Trump is set to visit Puerto Rico on Tuesday after being roundly criticized for tweets suggesting that Puerto Rico is somehow to blame for Hurricane Maria's catastrophic destruction.
And let's underscore this. The power is going to be out, as officials estimate, for 6 months in Puerto Rico. I mean, we've said over and over again, this is a humanitarian crisis, but I don't think people understand the scale of the disaster and potential catastrophe that we're now looking at.
The Trump administration does appear to be ramping up its emergency response, deploying more U.S. military assets, including the U.S. Navy hospital ship the Comfort and the 101st Airborne Division, but those will take several days to arrive.
Yeah, well, take your time. That medical ship Comfort had been sitting there in dock at the U.S. mainland for days before it was even shipped out, and it's going to take days before it even gets to the island.
On Thursday, more than a week after the storm, and after much criticism from both Republicans and Democrats, the Trump administration finally waived the Jones Act to speed up fuel deliveries. That's a century-old law limiting shipping between U.S. ports to only U.S.-flagged vessels, which also happens to increase costs. The administration waived the Jones Act in Texas and Florida after Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Trump had told a press gaggle on Wednesday, quote, "There's a lot of people who work in the shipping industry that don't want the Jones Act lifted."
But they didn't mind lifting it for Texas and Florida, just not for the 3.5 million citizens in Puerto Rico. Got it.
In response, the former head of U.S. Foreign Disaster Assistance said Trump's reasoning, quote, "almost sounds like profiteering by U.S. shipping companies off an emergency like this."
Well, what good are natural disasters if someone can't profiteer off them?
And by the way, federal aid is also slow to reach the U.S. Virgin Islands, which were also devastated by Hurricanes Irma and Maria and are also in dire need. The similarities to the Bush administration's botched response to Hurricane Katrina are striking, although this is on a much broader scale. Despite the humanitarian disaster in Puerto Rico, Trump and congressional Republicans on Wednesday focused on their proposals to enact massive tax cuts.